Hey there everybody, Mazarok here, and today I want to have a conversation about Shockwave. And I'm going to be doing this in a very weird way, especially for YouTube. I'm going to pull some YouTube comments from the last few Warrior videos that I did that disagreed with me about Shockwave, because I honestly believe that we need to be able to have a civilized conversation about this. It's no surprise that the WoW community is not known for its elegancy, let's call it, in conversation. And I believe that, we honestly can rise above a little bit. So these are three takes that disagreed with me, and I want to talk about them a little bit and, go back and forth on them a little bit. Before we do get into it, though, I am happy to announce that I have some merch for sale. We have a Plate Tanks Do It Better t-shirt and hoodie, as well as an I Only Do Dungeons Fully Erect. Same options, t-shirts and hoodies. I do have other things in the works. I have a Paladin, a DK, and a Warrior tee idea coming for kind of stuff that fits around my channel. So if that's something you're interested, there is a link down there below. If you want to keep up on any of the new designs, I have a Discord link down below, as well as a Twitch link, which I do show them off whenever I get anything new updates or anything on them. So I'm very, very happy where that's going. And my patrons, thank you so much for all of your support. Cannot do it without people like you. There is a Discord down below. There's a Patreon link down below if you wish to support me directly. And lastly, please just like, comment, and subscribe. Help the algorithm while we barrel towards 4K. We are so close as of recording this. Thank you so much, everybody, for all of the support. So, Shockwave. What do I mean by the Shockwave debate? Well, since they introduced the class tree, Shockwave has been in a rather precarious position. It has been at the bottom right of the class tree, competing with things like Thunderous Roar, Avatar, and Spear of Bastion. And to make this a unique capstone, more likely to be taken, they've been buffing the damage on it. They gave it several other capstone options. One increases the damage by 350% and always makes it crit. And the other is Rumbling Earth, which increases the yards by 6. And whenever you hit 3 enemies or more, it reduces the cooldown by like 15 seconds. So this is what they have. This is what they've done to it. But now they've put it into a spot where the damage is actually so good that you're just pretty much not pretty much, but it's very hard to move away from Shockwave now as both a utility and a damage option. And it's kind of like made Thunderous Roar a little underutilized, but I'm going to get into that into a little bit of a later video. This really isn't about that. And I have had some takes on Shockwave as we've been kind of moving forward within the class tree and seeing changes. And I said that this is a hill that Blizzard obviously wants to die on. Shockwave is a very, very good utility spell. Has not been known for damage, especially in recent expansions. I know in kind of more classic WoW formats in Dungeon or AoE, Shockwave used to be really, really good in a couple of instances, in a couple of seasons or tiers or whatever have you not. But in modern WoW, it really has only been used for utility and not as much for its damage, which the more damage you make it do, the less you want to use it for utility, which kind of creates this little paradox. And that's kind of the gist of it. I'm not going to go into the big thing of all of it, but I do want to kind of give the quick rundown before I get into some of these comments. Matt here says, I agree with basically everything you said, except the Shockwave bit. I believe holding it versus spamming it, because the damage is a gameplay choice that puts it in your hands. And I think that's a good thing. If you only ever want to use Shockwave as a stun, or you only want to use it as a damage buff, then your choice is effectively gone. However, wanting both and having to choose is a good thing. P.S. Thundering Roar buffs bleed all damage by 15%. Did you take that into account when comparing Roar to Shockwave? If I missed it in the video, totally my bad. Love the videos. Keep up the good work. So this is obviously different from me, but this is a different perspective, right? It's not a differing on what the talents you should choose, but how you decide to play them. And that's actually a really good take. I really, really like this. Because as a tank, you should have to choose between utility and damage sometimes. The problem that kind of can occur here, at least in my mind, is the damage from Shockwave is so good that you don't want to. And this is the problem, right? Is you want Shockwave, you want it's actually crazy damage. We were testing this in Academy, and I was trying bleed builds and everything else, and the best build that I had in comparison was 3k overall less, sitting at 37k, versus the Shockwave build that I was running, that I was testing out, was 40k plus consistently, and allowed for better sustain. And when you're talking that level of damage, I mean, yeah, it's only 4k in a, you know, it's not like it's 4k versus an 11 to 15 range. It's 4k in the 37 to 40, 41, which is pretty good, right? Like, if you start comparing those things, they're both really, really good. But that also does mean when you're in those ranges, right, if you're looking at, you know, if we put up the numbers to 100k versus 96, right, or 96 versus 92, not that big of a difference. So we're kind of starting to creep up into those numbers where you get to choose. And honestly, it's a really good take. I like that. And it puts the choice in the player's hands on how they want to play it. This is actually one of the perspectives that I actually kind of lacked. It's really nice seeing these types of comments, and I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, I can see that. If you just want to go for big damage, you can. If you just need the stops, you can. It puts it in your hands. My current problem with Shockwave is I'd say the damage is tuned just a little bit too high, to the point that it actually kind of, you really only want to press it on cooldown, right? And Demo. Okay, here's my take on Shockwave. In every fight, there are a million things to stop. The bigger the pull, the more interrupt opportunities there are. Should always be casting it on cooldown, because you should always have at least something to stop. The super important interrupts, usually single target, should be prioritized with pummel or another teammate's interrupt. The added damage incentivizes bigger pulls. This is true. There's two things to take into account into this. Is the diminishing returns on stuns. The more you use Shockwave and the more other people use their stuns, the more you're not going to be able to stun later, which in smaller keys and like lower level keys, this isn't going to come in effect too much. But once you start getting up into the higher pulls, where some big pulls you could actually probably cast Shockwave 3 times, but the diminishing returns are going to kick in, and you're not going to be able to stop some things. And some things aren't stoppable with an actual kick silence, right? For example, we will take the fish sticks cast in Gambit. That's not a kickable cast. You need to be able to stun, fear it, and stop it with some other form of disruption that is not a kick. And if you've diminishing returns that so much between you and your party, and in pugs where you don't have comms, I have seen many times where everybody tries to do the right thing at the exact same time. Somebody sees a kick. I have seen the entire kick tracker go off at the same time on a Rebellious Fist in Spires of Ascension. Everybody did the right thing, but because everybody did the right thing at the wrong time, and there wasn't enough coordination, you don't have a kick. If you didn't have a shaman in the group at the time, you're not going to have a kick for the next Rebellious Fist, which leads into future problems. And this can actually lead into future problems, especially in more pug environments, where people are punished for doing the right thing. It's weird to say, but when everybody's using their stuns and everybody's using their CC, there will eventually be diminishing returns to the point where, like, they just don't work. We've all seen immune come up when you hit a stun. You're like, uh-oh, this is bad news, and that's not exactly good, but I like the idea here. It's true, right? There are scenarios where you just always want to hit it, and the damage is absolutely worthwhile. Interweb Jedi. I really like that name, actually. The Shockwave Dam versus Stun use choice is the same developer paradigm they have given to Pallies with Talented into Divine Toll. It was intended and has always been back for its STFU button use. Very true. But now it's going to be used on cooldown because the damage is too high to ignore. Very true. To be honest, every tank has at least traditionally used one ability that it has given. Let's call it face roll friendly integration. Now, casuals and new people can look at it and see it has a rotational use and therefore use it more. And veterans who will understand the min-max utility can hold it back when absolutely needed or blow it whenever the DPS is for the gain. This is a singular example of development choice I can agree with. I don't know what other choices he disagrees with, but this is a very interesting take. This goes on a couple of other things that we talked about earlier, but we're going to delve a little bit deeper into this one on this part of the conversation, which is, what is ethical tanking, right? Are you just trying to get the highest number of damage in your group as an overall, which maybe in your weekly 15, that might be true. But when you're pushing keys, it stops becoming about damage sometimes. You still need the damage, but you need people to rotate kicks properly, rotate CCs, have stops for certain things, because at the end of the day, completing the dungeon and completing the dungeon on time when you're trying to do higher keys is more important than your overall. When I was first kind of starting to push into the 2021 range, when I was first doing there, we had a boomkin that dealt less damage than me throughout every run. And we completed like 7 20s in a row. We banged them all out. This was in Season 2. And he kept saying my damage. I'm like, yeah, but like, we're calling for utility. You're using your utility, and it's allowing me to live. It's allowing your healer to do their job. And it's literally going through. He left, and our next run was miserable because we were so used to the utility that he brought and how he used it and how he used it correctly, that the next run that we did without him went really, really badly. So you have to take things like this into account. And this means that you actually have to start tanking ethically. Do you need it for a stop? Do you know you need it for a stop that someone might not have? You don't want to hold it for 30 seconds, but if you can hold it for 10, you're not going to lose that much DPS, and you're still going to get the job done, because at the end of the day, in Mythic Plus, completing the keystone is more important than your overall. I'm going to get a lot of comments on that one where people are going to say, no, overall is super important, and a damage, and go ahead, say it. But at the same time, I fully disagree with you. That can be a topic for another video if you really want it to be. But this is very interesting takes, right? They disagree with me on what I think here, and things, and my position on it. And that's fine. I'm not saying that my position on it's the one that's absolutely right. It's my perspective on it, and these people have different perspectives on it. There were some other ones that started off, like, there's some other comments that started off really well, but then devolved into degeneracy, because it does happen at times. But I have to say, for a YouTube channel, my comment section is really, really good. There's a couple of mean comments from time to time, and I know people like to focus on the mean ones, but the amount of positive support that you guys put in these comment sections, and I try and read as many of them as I can, that YouTube will notify me of. For some odd reason, after a while, after like 2 weeks, they stop notifying me on some videos, but then I'll randomly get one like a month later. I don't know. But I try and keep up with them, as much of them as possible. And thank you so much for all the friendly comments, everybody. I thought this was, what did you guys think of this video? Would you like to see more styles of video like this, where I kind of maybe put out a hot take, get some comments on it, get some thoughts, and kind of put them out into the world, and try and kind of have this, friendly conversation? I know the conversations with myself, but we can have it together, right? And you guys can let me know down in the comment section down below. And as we leave, a last thank you to my patrons. Have yourselves a great day, and happy tanking.